Ladies and gentlemen, today we gather not only to celebrate love, but to understand it through the lens of wisdom, the timeless teachings of Stoicism. It is said that she spoke in dreams, and he listened in love. These words may appear simple, but they carry within them profound lessons that can guide us toward a deeper understanding of both the nature of human connection and the virtuous path to enduring love. Dreams, in their most profound sense, are not merely the fleeting images and sensations we experience during sleep. They are the silent expressions of the soul, revealing the deepest parts of our inner world, our desires, fears, hopes, and even our struggles. In many ways, dreams hold a mirror to our unconscious self, reflecting not just what we long for, but also what we need to grow. The Stoics, though they may not have written extensively on dreams in the way that modern psychology does, certainly understood the importance of what lies beneath the surface of our desires. In the Stoic philosophy, there is a distinct awareness of the nature of human desire. To desire is to be human, and yet it is through the management and understanding of these desires that we find peace. The Stoic sage does not reject desires outright, but approaches them with a sense of detachment and wisdom. Stoicism emphasizes the importance of recognizing that while dreams are essential to our humanity, they should not control us. Instead, they should serve as guiding lights, encouraging us to strive for virtue, but never at the expense of inner tranquility. For the Stoic, a dream is not an end in itself, but rather a means of aligning one's life with nature and reason. It is natural for humans to dream, to envision a better life, a more fulfilling existence, or to seek the realization of our ambitions. These dreams, however, must be grounded in what is within our control. We must ask ourselves, is this dream aligned with virtue? Is it something that can truly lead to my flourishing as a human being, or is it an illusion that will only bring suffering when unattainable? The Stoics warn against the danger of excessive attachment to dreams that are beyond our control, for this is the source of much of human suffering. Dreams often lead us to set goals, but Stoicism teaches us to focus on the process rather than the outcome. It is not the realization of the dream that ultimately brings peace, but the effort to align our actions with reason and virtue. To live in harmony with nature means understanding that while we may aspire to great things, the only thing that truly belongs to us is our own character, our own responses, and our own decisions. We cannot control the future, nor can we predict whether our dreams will come true. But we can control how we approach the journey towards those dreams, and this is where Stoic wisdom offers guidance. The key to understanding dreams in the Stoic context lies in the idea of moderation. Dreams are necessary, they propel us forward, they inspire us to act, but they must not become the source of our happiness. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate an inner sense of contentment that does not depend on external outcomes. In other words, while dreaming of success, love, or peace is a natural human tendency, the Stoic way is to remain indifferent to the outcome, focusing instead on making choices that are consistent with our values and moral principles. If our dreams come to fruition, we accept them with gratitude, and if they do not, we face the disappointment with equanimity. Additionally, dreams reveal our deepest fears and desires, which are often at odds with what is rational or virtuous. It is in this tension between our dreams and reality that Stoicism offers us its greatest lesson. We must learn to let go of dreams that are driven by fear or impulse and replace them with those that are guided by wisdom and virtue. The Stoic dreamer is not someone who blindly chases after fleeting passions, but rather someone who dreams in accordance with reason, whose aspirations reflect an understanding of what is truly worthwhile in life. In the context of human relationships, dreams serve as a powerful force for connection and growth. When we share our dreams with others, we invite them into our most vulnerable spaces, offering them a glimpse of what we hope to create in the future. However, a Stoic approach to this sharing would encourage us to ensure that our dreams are realistic and grounded in the values of virtue and integrity. It is one thing to dream. It is another to dream with wisdom, understanding that our relationships must be founded on mutual respect, trust, and a shared commitment to personal growth. In conclusion, dreams are an essential part of human existence. They help us envision a future that is brighter, more meaningful, and more fulfilling. But Stoicism teaches us to approach these dreams with wisdom and balance. Dreams should inspire us, but they must not consume us. They should be rooted in virtue, tempered by reality, and pursued with the understanding that while we cannot control every outcome, we always have control over how we respond to the journey. Listening is one of the most profound and essential practices in human connection, and yet it is often overlooked. To truly listen is to engage deeply, to open oneself to understanding another's perspective, and to offer more than just the act of hearing. In relationships, whether personal or professional, listening is an art, a skill that requires patience, empathy, and a profound respect for the person speaking. For the Stoics, listening is not only a way to understand others, but a way to cultivate virtues like humility, wisdom, and self-control. At its core, Stoicism teaches us that to be wise is to listen, not just to the words being spoken, but to the emotions, intentions, and underlying messages. The Stoics valued silence as a tool for self-reflection and discernment, knowing that our reactions and judgments often arise from our own internal noise, which can cloud our understanding of others. In listening, the Stoic strives to quiet their own impulses, judgments, and desires in order to be fully present for the other. This presence of mind and body enables us to truly understand what the other person is expressing, not just in their words, but in their tone, their body language, and the unsaid thoughts that linger beneath the surface. True listening is not merely the passive act of hearing. It is an active engagement with what is being communicated. The Stoics would argue that in order to be virtuous, one must listen without bias, without the need to impose one's own thoughts or preconceptions onto the conversation. Listening, in this context, is an exercise in self-restraint. It is the discipline of stepping back from our own desires and opinions and allowing the other person to be fully heard. It is a practice in humility as we recognize that the thoughts, feelings, and experiences of others are as valid as our own. In love and relationships, this form of listening is transformative. When one person speaks in dreams, sharing their deepest desires, hopes, and aspirations, the act of listening becomes an expression of love itself. To listen to another's dreams is to honor their inner world, to affirm their value and their journey. For the listener, this act of listening is not about providing solutions or fixing problems. It is not about interrupting with advice or judgments. Instead, it is about offering space for the other to express themselves freely and without fear of rejection or misunderstanding. In listening, the partner conveys that they value the person in their entirety, including the dreams that define their heart. From the Stoic perspective, love is not an overwhelming emotion that overtakes reason. Rather, it is an act of virtue and a choice to act with integrity, patience, and understanding. In this light, listening is one of the most loving acts we can perform. When we listen attentively, we show respect for the other person's individuality and the sacredness of their inner world. Listening in love requires an openness to vulnerability, both on the part of the speaker and the listener. The speaker shares their dreams, trusting that they will be heard with kindness and understanding. The listener, in turn, offers not only their attention but also their heart, embracing the moment of connection and fostering a deeper sense of mutual respect and affection. Furthermore, listening is essential for the growth of any meaningful relationship. The ability to listen allows both individuals to grow together. When one person shares their dreams, the listener is not just hearing a list of wishes or aspirations. They are gaining insight into the speaker's values, motivations, and world view. This understanding allows for deeper empathy and compassion, as the listener becomes more attuned to the emotional and psychological needs of the other. As a result, the bond between two people strengthens because it is founded on mutual understanding and respect. The Stoic approach to listening also teaches us to listen with discernment. Not all words are equally important, and not all opinions or desires are worth acting upon. Listening, in this context, does not mean blindly accepting everything that is said, but carefully considering what is in harmony with virtue and reason. The Stoic listener evaluates what is being communicated with a calm, rational mind, responding not out of impulse or emotional reaction, but from a place of understanding and wisdom. This does not mean ignoring emotions. It means recognizing them, accepting them, and responding thoughtfully rather than reactively. In conclusion, the art of listening is one of the most profound and powerful skills we can cultivate in our relationships. It is not simply about hearing words. It is about understanding, respecting, and valuing the person who is speaking. Through listening, we offer not just our attention, but our presence, our empathy, and our love. In a world filled with distractions, true listening becomes an act of self-control and virtue, aligning us more closely with the Stoic ideal of living according to reason and wisdom. When we listen deeply, we create space for connection, growth, and mutual respect, nurturing relationships that are grounded in understanding and love. Love, often celebrated in its many forms, is not simply an emotion that arises spontaneously or as a reaction to external circumstances. It is, at its core, an act of virtue, a deliberate practice of patience, understanding, and self-discipline. The Stoics, with their emphasis on rationality, self-control, and the cultivation of wisdom, offer a profound perspective on love, viewing it not as a fleeting passion, but as a purposeful commitment to the well-being of another. In the Stoic view, love is an act of virtue because it requires individuals to go beyond their personal desires and impulses and focus on the greater good of the relationship and the moral growth of both partners. The Stoic understanding of love is grounded in the notion of mutual respect and the shared commitment to living virtuously. In a romantic relationship, this means that love is not simply about seeking gratification or fulfillment through another person, but about cultivating a relationship in which both individuals can flourish as they pursue wisdom and virtue together. Rather than seeking to possess or control the other, love in its truest Stoic form involves a deep respect for the autonomy and individuality of each person. It involves the recognition that both partners are independent and complete in their own right, and their connection is not based on need but on shared values, mutual respect, and the desire to support each other's growth. To love in this way is to engage in a practice of self-restraint. In a world that often prioritizes instant gratification and emotional intensity, the Stoic approach to love requires individuals to exercise patience and moderation. Love, in this sense, is not about acting on every impulse or desire, but about making conscious choices that are aligned with virtue and reason. This means that love is not simply an emotional response, but a series of deliberate actions and decisions that prioritize the well-being of the other person. The Stoic lover seeks to understand their partner, not to change them or impose their own desires, but to support them in their personal journey toward fulfillment. Moreover, love in the Stoic sense is inherently selfless. It is not about seeking to extract something for oneself, but about giving freely, without expectation of return. In this way, love becomes a practice of generosity of spirit, time, and attention. The Stoic lover listens not merely to respond but to understand, offering support without the need for validation or reciprocity. This type of love involves putting the needs and happiness of the other person on par with, or even above, one's own. It requires the ability to put aside one's own personal desires, to act not out of selfishness or personal gain, but out of a genuine desire for the happiness and growth of the partner. However, this does not mean that Stoic love is devoid of passion or deep emotional connection. Rather, it suggests that passion must be tempered by wisdom. Love is an active process of continuously choosing to act in ways that foster the flourishing of the relationship. It is a commitment to maintaining peace and harmony, even when emotions run high or when external circumstances challenge the relationship. In moments of conflict, the Stoic lover remains calm, focused on resolving the issue through reason and mutual understanding rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally. This type of love does not involve repressing emotions, but rather learning to navigate them with clarity and composure. In addition to patience and self-restraint, love, according to Stoicism, requires a commitment to personal growth. Both partners are encouraged to strive for excellence, not only for the benefit of the relationship, but also for their own personal development. A Stoic lover understands that a healthy relationship is one where both individuals are growing and evolving, continually striving to be better versions of themselves. This means recognizing one's own flaws and weaknesses and being willing to work on them, not only for the benefit of the other person, but also for the sake of one's own peace of mind and well-being. At its highest form, Stoic love can be seen as a shared journey toward greater wisdom, virtue, and inner peace. It is not based on external factors such as physical attraction or social status, but on the deeper, more enduring qualities of respect, understanding, and a shared commitment to personal and collective growth. In this sense, love becomes a partnership that transcends superficial desires and focuses on what truly matters: the cultivation of virtue and the pursuit of a life lived in harmony with nature and reason. In conclusion, love in the Stoic sense is not a passive state of being or a fleeting emotion, but an active practice of virtue. It is a commitment to the well-being of another, an exercise in self-discipline and selflessness, and a continual process of personal growth and mutual support. Through love, we learn to act not out of selfishness or impulse, but with patience, wisdom, and a deep respect for the other person's individuality and journey. Love, when rooted in Stoic principles, is enduring, purposeful, and transformative, both for the individuals involved and for the relationship they share. In Stoic philosophy, the relationship between desire and fulfillment is an essential part of understanding how to live a virtuous life. The Stoics acknowledge that human beings are naturally inclined to desire. They are drawn to things that they believe will bring them happiness, success, and fulfillment. However, they also teach that these desires must be carefully examined and regulated, for it is not the presence of desire itself that leads to suffering, but the unchecked pursuit of desires that are beyond our control or that conflict with virtue. Stoicism, therefore, offers a perspective on desires that is not about suppression, but about transformation and alignment with reason and nature. Desire, in Stoicism, is seen as neither inherently good nor bad. It is a natural human inclination. The problem arises not from the existence of desire itself, but from how we relate to it. The Stoics emphasize that we should focus our desires only on things that lie within our control, such as our actions, our attitudes, and our responses to external events. This leads to a fundamental distinction between what is up to us and what is not up to us. While we cannot control external circumstances, such as the actions of others, the events of the world, or even the natural course of life, we do have control over how we react to these things. Therefore, Stoicism teaches that we should cultivate desires for things that we can directly influence: the development of our own character, our pursuit of wisdom, our practice of virtue, and our inner peace. In the context of love and relationships, this Stoic framework becomes especially relevant. Desires in romantic relationships are often influenced by external factors such as physical attraction, societal expectations, and the desire for external validation. While these desires are not wrong in themselves, Stoicism teaches that true fulfillment does not come from seeking love or affection as an external source of happiness, but from finding peace and contentment within oneself. In a relationship, this means that one should not seek to possess or control the other person, nor should one rely solely on the other for validation or fulfillment. Instead, each individual should focus on cultivating their own virtue and inner peace, recognizing that love is not about seeking to fulfill unmet desires, but about offering support, understanding, and respect to another person while maintaining one's own sense of self. The Stoic approach to desire and fulfillment also encourages a shift in how we view happiness. In popular culture, happiness is often seen as something that is dependent on external circumstances, success, wealth, love, or material possessions. However, Stoicism teaches that true happiness is found not in external possessions or achievements, but in the cultivation of inner virtues. The Stoic path to happiness is through self-mastery, wisdom, and the development of character. By focusing on desires that are aligned with virtue, such as the desire for justice, integrity, and wisdom, one can achieve a deeper and more lasting form of fulfillment. In this sense, desires are not obstacles to happiness, but rather opportunities to refine one's character and focus on what truly matters. This understanding of desire and fulfillment also means that the Stoic approach to relationships is not one of attachment or dependency, but of mutual respect and growth. In a relationship, it is natural to desire affection, companionship, and connection, but these desires must be balanced by a recognition that the other person is not there to fulfill all of one's emotional needs. True love, from the Stoic perspective, is not based on possessiveness or the need to control the other person, but on a shared commitment to personal and mutual growth. In this way, love becomes a partnership where both individuals are focused not only on fulfilling each other's desires, but also on supporting each other's journey toward wisdom, virtue, and inner peace. The Stoics also emphasize the importance of accepting that not all desires will be fulfilled. Life, by nature, is unpredictable, and we cannot always control the outcomes of our efforts. In relationships, this means accepting that things may not always go as planned, that love may not always be reciprocated in the way we wish, or that external circumstances may challenge our relationships in ways we cannot control. Stoicism teaches that the key to fulfillment is not in clinging to outcomes, but in learning to detach from the results of our desires. By focusing on the process rather than the result, we free ourselves from the anxiety and frustration that arise from unmet expectations. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to desire and fulfillment in love and relationships teaches us the importance of inner peace, self-control, and wisdom. It encourages us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our attitudes, and our reactions, while accepting that we cannot control the external circumstances or the actions of others. By aligning our desires with virtue and wisdom, we can cultivate a deeper sense of fulfillment that is not dependent on external factors, but on our own character and the strength of our inner peace. In this way, love becomes an act of selfless giving, rooted in mutual respect, understanding, and the shared pursuit of wisdom and virtue. In a world where external circumstances are often beyond our control, the Stoics teach us the importance of cultivating resilience in the face of adversity. This resilience does not mean the absence of pain, sorrow, or hardship. Rather, it is the ability to maintain one's inner peace and sense of virtue regardless of the challenges that life presents. The Stoic approach to adversity is grounded in the understanding that while we cannot control external events, we do have complete control over how we respond to them. In this sense, the Stoic way is not one of passive resignation, but an active choice to confront life's difficulties with wisdom, courage, and self-mastery. At the heart of this Stoic resilience is the recognition that suffering is an inevitable part of the human experience. Pain, loss, and disappointment are as much a part of life as joy, love, and success. However, the Stoic response to suffering is one of acceptance and transformation. The Stoics argue that we should not resist or deny suffering, but rather embrace it as an opportunity to grow in virtue. The key is not to allow ourselves to be controlled by our emotions or desires, which can magnify suffering, but to maintain a sense of calm and perspective. By viewing adversity as a test of character, we can approach even the most difficult circumstances with a sense of purpose and inner strength. Resilience, according to Stoicism, is not simply about enduring hardship, but about maintaining one's integrity and virtue in the face of challenges. It is about using adversity as a means to develop the qualities of wisdom, courage, and justice. The Stoic sage, for example, faces hardship not by withdrawing or complaining, but by confronting it directly and responding with reason and equanimity. This approach to resilience encourages us to shift our focus away from external events and instead focus on how we can grow as individuals through our responses. It is through our reactions to adversity that we reveal our true character, and it is by exercising self-control, patience, and wisdom that we cultivate resilience. In the context of love and relationships, adversity often arises in the form of misunderstandings, conflicts, or the inevitable challenges that come with shared lives. The Stoic approach to resilience in relationships teaches us that while we cannot control the actions or feelings of our partners, we can control our own responses. In times of difficulty, the Stoic lover remains steadfast in their commitment to virtue and understanding. They do not react impulsively or with anger, but instead approach conflict with calmness and rationality, seeking solutions that align with their values and the well-being of the relationship. In this sense, resilience in love is not about avoiding pain or disagreement, but about maintaining a steady and loving presence through the ups and downs of life together. This Stoic resilience is also reflected in the ability to accept impermanence. The Stoics understood that all things in life, including relationships, are transient. People change, circumstances evolve, and even the most secure attachments are subject to the forces of time and fate. Rather than resisting this reality, the Stoics advocate for an acceptance of change and the unpredictability of life. This acceptance does not mean giving up on relationships or withdrawing from love, but rather cultivating an awareness that nothing is permanent, and that the joy of love is found not in its duration, but in the quality of the experience itself. By embracing the transient nature of life and love, we learn to treasure the moments we have and to approach each day with a sense of gratitude and presence. The Stoic notion of resilience also involves cultivating an attitude of gratitude, regardless of external circumstances. The Stoics argue that we should be thankful for the challenges we face, as they offer opportunities to practice virtue and deepen our understanding of ourselves. Adversity, when viewed through this lens, becomes not something to fear or avoid, but something to embrace as a means of growth. In relationships, this means finding gratitude even in moments of tension or disagreement, recognizing that each challenge is an opportunity to strengthen the bond between partners and to practice patience, empathy, and understanding. Moreover, resilience in Stoic terms also means maintaining a sense of inner peace despite external chaos. The Stoics emphasize that our happiness and well-being should not be dependent on external events or the behavior of others. True contentment arises from within, from the cultivation of virtue, self-control, and a clear understanding of what is in our power to change. In times of hardship, the Stoic response is to return to this inner wellspring of strength and to remember that, no matter what happens in the world around us, we have the ability to maintain our integrity and peace. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to resilience teaches us that adversity is not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced as a natural part of life. By cultivating resilience, we learn to face difficulties with courage and equanimity, transforming challenges into opportunities for growth and personal development. In relationships, this resilience enables us to weather the storms of life together, maintaining love, respect, and understanding even in the face of hardship. The Stoic path to resilience is not one of avoidance or denial, but one of acceptance, self-mastery, and a deep commitment to living in accordance with virtue, regardless of the circumstances. Through this practice, we come to understand that true strength lies not in the absence of adversity, but in our ability to rise above it with wisdom, courage, and love. In a relationship, as in life, there is a delicate balance between attachment and detachment. The Stoics teach us that while relationships can be a source of great joy and fulfillment, they must not become the anchor that ties us to the fleeting nature of the external world. Stoic philosophy encourages us to cultivate deep love and respect for others while maintaining a sense of inner independence and self-sufficiency. This balance between attachment and detachment does not imply that we should be cold or indifferent. Rather, it encourages us to love fully without becoming overly dependent on the object of our affection for our happiness or peace. Attachment, in the Stoic sense, refers to the emotional dependence we place on external things or people for our sense of well-being. When we become overly attached to something, whether it's a person, an outcome, or an ideal, we open ourselves to suffering because we are tethered to things that are outside our control. The Stoics remind us that everything in life is transient, people change, circumstances evolve, and even the most secure things can be taken from us without warning. If we place our happiness in the hands of things that are beyond our control, we set ourselves up for disappointment when these things inevitably change or fade. On the other hand, detachment in Stoic philosophy does not mean emotional coldness or a lack of care. It is the understanding that while we can love deeply and form meaningful connections, we must also recognize that our ultimate source of peace comes from within, not from the external world. Stoic detachment is about not allowing our emotional state to be determined by the vicissitudes of life. It is the practice of engaging fully with the people and experiences that matter to us, without clinging to them in a way that compromises our own sense of peace or virtue. This detachment is liberating because it frees us from the tyranny of our desires and external attachments, allowing us to love without fear of loss or change. In relationships, this balance means that we can love deeply without becoming obsessed with possessing or controlling the other person. Love, in the Stoic sense, is not about trying to mold the other person to fit our desires or expectations, but about accepting them as they are while also nurturing their growth. It is about allowing the other person to flourish in their own right without the need to rely on them for our own happiness. True love, according to the Stoics, is about mutual respect and support, not about creating a dependency. Each person is a whole, independent being who contributes to the relationship out of love and respect, not out of need or attachment. This approach also teaches us the importance of self-sufficiency. In relationships, it is essential to cultivate a sense of inner completeness and self-worth, so that our happiness does not depend on the approval or affection of others. The Stoics believed that true happiness comes from within, from living in accordance with virtue and wisdom, not from external validation. By cultivating this inner strength, we are able to engage in relationships from a place of wholeness, offering love and support without seeking to fill any voids or to have our needs met through the other person. Additionally, Stoic detachment allows us to accept the impermanence of life. People change, circumstances shift, and relationships may evolve or end. The Stoic recognizes that attachment to an idealized vision of a relationship or a person only leads to frustration when reality does not match our expectations. Detachment, in this sense, is not about withdrawing from love or becoming emotionally distant, but about embracing the full experience of love without clinging to the outcome. When we accept the inherent impermanence of life, we can appreciate the present moment without worrying about what might happen in the future. This creates a space for us to love deeply without the fear of losing the person or the relationship. This principle of detachment is particularly valuable in times of conflict. In any relationship, disagreements are inevitable, and our attachments to our own desires, opinions, and expectations can often lead to frustration and strife. The Stoic approach encourages us to detach from our ego and our need to be right, and instead focus on understanding the other person's perspective. By practicing emotional detachment in the face of conflict, we free ourselves from the desire to win or to control the situation, and instead open ourselves to the possibility of resolution through mutual understanding and respect. The balance between attachment and detachment, as taught by the Stoics, allows us to navigate relationships with a sense of inner peace, freedom, and respect. It encourages us to love without possession, to give without expectation, and to support without trying to change the other person. By maintaining this balance, we create space for growth, both personal and relational. We learn to love fully, yet remain resilient in the face of change, loss, or conflict. Ultimately, Stoic love is not about attachment to an outcome, but about the ability to give and receive love with wisdom, balance, and an unwavering commitment to the pursuit of virtue and inner peace. In conclusion, the Stoic philosophy provides a profound and transformative lens through which we can understand and approach love, relationships, and our connection to others. By speaking in dreams, we express the deepest desires of our hearts, and by listening with love, we honor those dreams and affirm their value. Through the Stoic principles of virtue, resilience, and self-discipline, we learn to navigate the complexities of relationships with wisdom and grace. We understand that true love is not about possession or fulfillment of our desires, but about mutual respect, selflessness, and the shared pursuit of wisdom and growth. The Stoics teach us that while we may not control the external events of our lives, we always have the power to control our responses, our desires, and our actions. In relationships, this means cultivating a love that is grounded in virtue, in which we support and cherish each other's growth while maintaining our own inner peace and self-sufficiency. By detaching from the need for external validation and accepting the impermanence of life, we create space for love that is enduring, free from fear or attachment, and deeply rooted in mutual respect and understanding. Ultimately, to love in the Stoic sense is to embrace the full spectrum of life, its joys, its challenges, and its uncertainties, while remaining anchored in virtue and wisdom. It is a love that transforms us, not by fulfilling every desire, but by teaching us the true meaning of connection, resilience, and inner peace. In loving with Stoic wisdom, we not only elevate our relationships, but also our own personal growth, shaping a life that is rich with meaning, love, and lasting fulfillment.